Hello, everybody, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. This is Paul Tinkle, and we're going to be talking about firefighting. We have two of the better men that I have known that have gone out and tried to rescue lives and have done so, and that's the fire chief of Martin, Tennessee, Jamie Summers, and also a very, very talented young man that helps out a whole lot as well, and this is the captain of the Martin Fire Department, Kory Green, in our studios today. Fellas, thank you so much for joining us today. We haven't talked about the fire department much in a while, but there have been a few changes, obviously, that have been made in the public's best interest. And the second thing about this is a time when we got to be paying attention about what we're doing out of doors with wind and dry weather and some people that want to get outside and start burning those limbs and sticks that have fallen down around their house. But Chief Summers, thank you for your time for coming in today, and Kory Green as well. So we do have a burn ban right now.
Well, we have a permit only right now. We actually did issue a burn ban yesterday and the day before because due to the wind, but that's been lifted. But you still have to, in the city limits, you have to call the fire station, Station 1, and get a burn permit for any fire that happened, that you do outside.
587-4919. I've been knowing that number as long as Buster Williams has had it, and that is a number, though, that people do need on short notice, and if not, make it 911 if it's something serious.
Yeah, if it's something that, if it's an emergency, definitely 911, but if you're just asking for a burn permit, then call the 587-4919, and we'll send a person out to look at it to make sure that it's not close to anything that's combustible and all that.
What got you into being a firefighter?
Oh, gosh. Well, my dad was a volunteer firefighter with Sharon back years ago. And I remember
your dad was a minister.
Yeah, my dad was a minister, but he was a volunteer firefighter. And I can remember when I was a young child riding with him to fires, because when the fire whistle would blow, he would drive to where the fire was, and a lot of times I'd ride with him and sit in the car. And I guess that just kind of, and with Dad being a minister also, serving the people, that was one of the things that he instilled in me. And I thought the best way to serve people is to try to protect them the best way possible. And that's in 1992, I started my career as a volunteer fireman in Sharon to kind of following in his footsteps. And then with that, it's led me up to a full-time position in 2000 with the city of Martin. And then in 2012, I had the honor of being promoted up to the fire chief.
What is the drive that firefighters have? Where does that come from?
You have to have a calling to be a firefighter. I mean, you just can't wake up one day and say, I want to be a firefighter, because it has to be a call. It has to be a dedication. It has to be a mindset to know that your job is to ultimately protect the public. People we may not ever know or whatever. And, you have that calling because, every call that we go on, we know there's a high potential that we may not come back. And so, you have to have a calling in your heart for that. It's not just something somebody wakes up and does and says, hey, I want to be a firefighter.
Captain Green, how did you get into the business of wanting to go out and get right in front of something that was so hot that you had to have something to put it out with?
I think just from a little child growing up, I always wanted to be a fireman. Fire trucks always excited me when they'd come by. I remember seeing the Dresden Volunteer Department come by when they were riding on the back of the trucks. And the firemen hanging on there, going to calls. Lyndall Dildy, who was the assistant fire chief at the time for the city of Dresden, his son Patrick and myself were junior firefighters, hung around the fire department all through high school. And then when I turned 18 years old, that's when I joined Dresden, and that kind of just got my career started from there.
You're kind of doing it in two towns. Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yes, sir. So for the city of Martin, I'm the captain over training and safety.
What does that mean?
So I work Monday through Friday. I'm in charge of all training for the department. I also handle public education for the city, and then other odd and end jobs that may come about that I take care of here. And then for the city of Dresden, I'm the deputy fire chief and just take care of operations and stuff. Paul Hutcherson's the fire chief, and help him out and just day-to-day operations of the city of Dresden on my days off and when I'm not at Martin.
I would be remiss if I didn't give you both a chance to, I don't want to use the word pay off your colleagues, but identify the other fire chiefs here in Weakley County and the surrounding areas. You just mentioned Paul and Paul Hutcherson, the chief, but he's not the full-time chief. He's the part-time full-time chief. Can you talk about this for a moment?
Yeah, so the city of Dresden is a paid-on-call department. So the only time we're there at the station is if, we have a call or training or some kind of event going on, whether it's, with the public or something along those lines or with the city. But, me and Paul have been at the fire department together for over 10 years. And I've been at Dresden for 24, 25 years right now. So, but, we've got several great chiefs just besides Jamie and Paul in the county. You have Bob at Greenfield, and you have Gary Eddings at Sharon, and Mark Stafford's now at Gleason. And there's several volunteer chiefs that are out in the county and unincorporated areas that are great fire chiefs at what they do and lead their areas, really well. You
have Union City Police Chief and South Fulton Police Chief also that the city of Martin has relationships with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have good relationships. Chief Teal and Assistant Chief Euclid here in Martin are great. We work very hand in hand with them all the time, just not in training, but in community events and on calls. They're ladies and gentlemen, they're always there with us to help protect us. And Chief Chandler in Dresden, he's only been there for about a year, but we have a great working relationship with our police department there, just like other towns. That's just coincide with each other. We're both in a dangerous job, and we're both dedicated to what we do, and our main mission is to make sure that we go home at the end of the day to our loved ones, but we also are there to help take care of the citizens of our town.
Let me do a little I've just called it some basic things that people need to know. When the fire alarm goes off over here, we're talking about the emergency siren. First off, when is the siren blown? Is that fire department? Is that police department? Who is that?
Talking about for the outdoor tornado warning? The police department dispatch, they set that off. What they do, when Weakley County goes under a tornado warning, they set the sirens off, regardless of where that warning is, because, we're not forecasters and we're not meteorologists. And so whenever the National Weather Service puts out a tornado warning for Weakley County, we activate our sirens. Mm-hmm. When we go on a tornado watch, that we'll send people out to the Gateway Center, to the tornado shelter, and go ahead and open it up and get it ready for people, if they want to come and hang out there until the danger's over. But yes, the sirens are activated through our 911 dispatch here in Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So, when people come to the Gateway Center for the watches, we just ask them to do it, in an orderly fashion, just coming inside. A lot of times we get questions about animals, pets, things along those lines. We do have that information on our website and the city's website where they can go and look and see what they can bring and how they can do that. We try to get the watch out as soon as we can. It's like Jamie said, sometimes tornadoes are unpredictable, storms are unpredictable, and things happen even when it's not showing up on radar. This last tornado that hit Dresden back in December, on the southeast side of town, it wasn't even on the radar. They didn't even know that we had been hit until we got in contact with the National Weather Service and said we'd been hit by one again. You just never know about storms. Storms are so unpredictable, and the location where we're at now, we seem to get more storms than what we have in the past. So, we just ask everybody to be storm ready. One service that we offer to the citizens that's free is if you've got a weather radio and you're unsure whether or not it's working or not, you can bring it by station 1, 8 to 5, and we'll be able to program that radio for you to make sure that you've got the right tones and the right numbers set in there. So that way, when those storm warnings do go off or those watches go off, that it'll alert you in your home. And there's several other apps that you can get on the internet that you can get in your app store. The set alarms off for you. WPSD, WBBJ out of Jackson and Paducah, they have a great app that they'll even tell you when lightning's detected in the area. It's just the settings you go in there and do. So, just make sure that you're weather aware, especially where we're at. Like I said a while ago, the weather is constantly changing here. If you don't like it 1 minute, wait a few minutes, it's going to change real quick. So just making sure that you're storm aware.
If you just tuned in, we're talking about the Martin Fire Department. Chief, there are other aspects to the fire department. You have an ambulance service that you also are in connectivity with.
Yes. One thing about our department is that we have a full realm of services that we do. We do, vehicle extrication, our EMS service. Yes, we've been running EMS since 2000, but we've done it in a first response kind of a realm of where that when the ambulance went out, we would go assist them. And then in 2019, we made the decision to purchase ambulances and do a transport service. And so that's been going very good. We do a lot of runs here in Martin. A lot of people, they see the red ambulance going because our ambulances are red because we're fire department based.
What else about the fire department that you're very pleased with? I know you have a certain criteria of rating that you want to have for your city so that the insurance isn't as much as it is in other places who don't have a high insurance, and I've forgotten the exact word, ISO? It's
ISO risk. It's actually a risk class that they do, public classification. It goes from 1 to 10, with 1 being the best and 10 being, just pretty much a non-existent fire department. We were a 4 for several years, and then in 2 years ago, in 2022, we were able to go through another survey, and we increased our rating to a Class 3 department, which is a very, very it's a very great accomplishment for the city of Martin, the firemen that has put their work into it, the city board and the mayor who has helped us obtain this. And so it put us into less than 10% of the fire departments in the United States are Class 3, and so we're in that class.
Let me jump onto that because a lot of people do not live in the city of Martin, but they do live in the fire zone, as we would call it. Can you speak to that for a couple of moments and how far out that goes if people want to have your subscription service?
We do cover a certain amount of the county because Weakley County does not have a county fire department, as to speak, like some other counties do. So each of the fire departments that's in our county have a certain area that they respond to. With the ISO rating, if you live within 5 road miles of a fire station, and you're within 1,000 feet of a credible water source, which is a fire hydrant or a dry hydrant, what we call it, that people put in ponds, then they will rate you as a Class 3 on your insurance. But you have to meet that criteria before that will happen. And so, that's one of the good things that helps us out. When we added Station 3, people on the west side of our coverage area, they fell within that 5 mile range. And so, they could actually see some savings now.
Can you go out, let's say, towards Union City? How far out is that? Gardner, of course, and
we go to Terrell.
Terrell Grove. So those.
We go to the county line. Our coverage area is going toward Union City is the county line. Going toward South Fulton is the county line. We go to Fuller Road on Highway 22 toward Dresden, and then we go to Old Troy Road going out to toward Sharon.
I don't know if this is wrong or right, but you have a fire department in Greenfield and a fire department in Martin and a fire department in Sharon right down the highway. I mean, that's pretty good, to be able to have that kind of connectivity with when the call comes in. I want to follow up another call. You get a lot of calls. You got a little calls that are not fire related. Can you tell me about some of those things that you get a number called to you on a 911 that's really not a 911?
You always see in movies and stuff, firemen rescuing cats and all that, getting them out of the trees.
Do you still do that?
We do. If it's possible for us to get to them, we will assist the public with getting their animals, with their pets out of the tree. We've even tried to get a bird. A person had an exotic bird that got out of the house, and it was actually the tree, and we did get to it and get it. But I guess that's probably one of the most, the most exciting things that we've done is rescue a bird.
Isn't it safe to say that going out and getting the cat out of the top of the tree, that's training? I mean, you can look at it as a training method. I mean, if you go 2 or 3 months and you don't ever raise the ladder truck other than, see if it's working at the fire department, I mean, you want to make sure it's going to work
right
when you're on the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can use them as training. If you've got a newer guy that hasn't had as much work on the ladder, that's a good time for him to climb the ladder, or whether it's a ground ladder or the aerial, either one. But, that just gives us extra practice. And, sometimes we're not always going to be able to get the cat or anything out of the tree. Sometimes they're just going to keep going higher and higher and be out of our reach. But, we try to reiterate to the public that they will come down eventually, even though we can't get to them at the time.
I'm glad to have our fire chief in Martin, Tennessee, Jamie Summers, here with us today, and Kory Green, who is captain with the Martin Fire Department. I don't want to bring this up in anything other than the fact that this has happened in our town. Matter of fact, I can remember 2 things that have happened in our town that were really, really tough for our fire department. One before you 2 guys. Downtown Martin, we had Pierce Tire Store. That's in downtown Martin many years ago, but it took place in Martin. And then I'll never forget, on New Year's night, we lost 2 children right in the middle of town. And I want to get into some conversation about this because people really don't realize the effect that those kinds of things happen when you get, number one, you lose your entire business, and number 2, you lose life, 2 children. So, Kory, I'll give you the start on that.
That one was pretty hard because I've still got young ones at home. At the time, they were several years younger than what they are now. But, when you get a call like that.
Let me let you start from the beginning. It's 11 o'clock or so at New Year's night.
Mm-hmm. So that night I was at home with my kids. I believe they were already in bed. That call come in. I heard the initial page out. I had the radio on for some reason that night, heard the initial page out. And then, when the initial engine got on scene trying to get in the door, I mean, the fire was so, well involved that, the guys were struggling to even try to get into the door. And I can't even imagine or try to put words on what those guys were feeling like when they come off the truck, knowing that there were 2 individuals in the house that we were trying to get, and they did everything they could.
2 young children upstairs trying to get out of the house.
Yeah. We did an all-call that night, so anytime we have a structure fire in the city, we call back off-duty personnel, number 1, to help out on the scene, and then number 2, if we get another call in the city. And when I arrived on the scene, the fire had done pushed them back out of the house again, and we were at a point where we had to go defensive, and that's something that you never want to do when you have somebody inside of a house. But sometimes that decision has to be made. That's not an easy one. That weighs on the minds of not only the firefighters who tried to get inside and get the people, but, the incident commander as well that is sitting on the outside, and he's got to make that decision of, do we risk more lives and possibly lose more, or do we stop it there and just stay to the outside and try to knock the fire down, and then, then you're out of recovery at that point. But, it's, there's no words that I can really say. I mean, you just, unless you've been there, you don't really know. It's heartbreaking, tears. You go home and hug your kids, hug your wife, tell them you love them. It's like Jamie said earlier, we all know at the end, when we come into work that morning that we may not go home that night, but, that's not something that we want to happen. We're here to help try the citizens, try to keep them as safe as we can. And it's frustrating when you can't get inside of a house, you can't get to somebody, whether it's in a house fire or car wreck, whatever it is. It's just, it's a helpless feeling, I guess you would say. It's just not fun.
I remember in downtown Martin, Buster Williams, the fire chief, had expressed to me one time, he says, the most difficult place to fight a fire is in your own hometown. downtown, because you've got people that have businesses on both sides of you. You have businesses across the street from you. You have an intersection of travel difficult to get to. You have you have cars, that were parked downtown, and the next thing you know, you're having a hard time getting to the job that you're there to do. You got to move. The logistics of it in itself appears to be the most difficult thing that you have, because sometimes you can't get the truck where you need to have the truck.
Mm-hmm. And we actually train on that. We'll put obstacles in to where when the arriving pumper gets on the scene, they have to make modifications. We ask the public, that please don't park in front of fire hydrants. If it's a fire lane, don't park in the fire lane. We see it a lot at Walmart. People just pull up in the fire lane, they'll park and run into Walmart, and it comes from, I guess, complacency. There's nothing ever happened at Walmart. I can park here and not have anything to worry about. But we never know. They were there for a reason, and that reason's for our access. But I had to say that we don't have people parking in front of fire hydrants here in Martin. We, big cities you would see that, but here in Martin, in our city, people do respect that. Because fire hydrants is a key to our job. That gives us the water that we need to, mitigate the emergency. So we ask people just just recognize if there's a fire hydrant there, don't park. Don't park in front of it, because we may be needing that.
Outside of the two that I just mentioned, do you have a fire story that turned out like, hey, we did this, we got these people, we were able to save this house? You don't get to hear about all the good things that you folks do.
We actually, and I'm trying to think back, I can't remember about when it was, but we had a fire. Now, it didn't involve any entrapment or anything, but this fire was actually at Terrell. And from at that time, we had our main fire station, Station 1 on Neal Street, was the closest fire station to that call. And it was a single family dwelling. We responded to it, got out there, and there was fire in the house, and we actually got there quick enough in a rural fire that we saved that house. And, it was one of them things, where you look at it and you're like, this is not going to be good. And then all of a sudden fire goes out and you're like, hey, them guys did a great job, because they got in there, crawled in, got to see the fire and put it out, and it was, the house had damage, but the house is still standing there. They redone the inside of it and it's still there.
Well, I guess probably the first year we had EMS, with our department, as far as ambulances and stuff, we had a fire over on College Street one day. About midday, people reported trapped inside. And, of course, when we pulled up on scene, PD was there a little bit quicker than we were. They're smaller vehicles. They can get there a little bit faster. But they were pulling a person off the porch, and our guys helped the trooper pulled the second guy off on the backside of the porch. But, our EMS guys and ladies at the time, they were right there with us. I mean, as soon as we pulled on scene, they're right there behind us, and they went ahead and took over patient care. And both those people, had just minor injuries and went back to normal life, and we got the fire knocked down pretty quickly. But, that's an added bonus we have here is having our guys right there with us when we have a fire now, and that helps out tremendously, especially if we have to pull somebody from a fire. They can go right to work, and we can get them to better care, at a hospital quicker.
Captain Kory Green and the Fire Chief Jamie Summers of the Martin Fire Department with us. You just brought up a whole new subject to me, and that is the great work, and because we kind of went over it a little bit, but these people that drive these ambulances, these people that are first responders, really on the scene, whether it be an automobile accident out in somewhere that flipped over or something, but I mean those people are very, very well trained as well, and many of them are firefighters.
Yes, and anybody that is in the public safety realm of their professions, whether they're police, fire, EMS, rescue squads, and all that, they want to make sure that they got personal. Their profession is, it's personal to them. They give it all that they've got, and they do the training to do that. And even with us working with different agencies, You know, in our county, we have such a good working relationship with other fire departments that when they come on the scene as mutual aid or we go to them for mutual aid, it's like you're working in one department. You know, you don't have 9 departments like what we have in the county. Mm-hmm. You're one department. And that goes along with, you know, with the county ambulance because, you know, we utilize them for mutual aid when we're tied up as well as us, you know, going and helping them. So, you know, with our ambulance. That's one of the good things that the citizens of Weakley County has is now that, you know, we run 2 ambulances. So they have 2 extra ambulances in the county if needed.
Easy questions, but short answers so we can use a little brevity here. What does an ambulance fully loaded cost?
Well, when we bought our ambulances in 2019.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Fully loaded. That was with everything ready to go out the door. They was around $270,000. Today, per one.
Okay.
Yep.
Today, one ambulance fully loaded, you're going to be paying up to $600,000, close to it.
That's more than double.
That's more than double. Everything in the emergency services since COVID, since the COVID pandemic and everything, has doubled or tripled in price. And the length to get it, like if today, just say today, I go and I talk with the mayor and I say, Mayor, you know, we need to go ahead and look at replacing an ambulance.
The board rubber stamps
and the board, everything.
Whatever it is, let's just
for
say.
the ambulance, it will take me 26 months to receive that ambulance from the day it's purchased.
Why?
The shortage of parts, or this is what we're told, shortage of chassis. You know, like ours are on a Ford chassis, so the shortage of that. A pumper, you know, a fire truck, if we order one today, is over 4 years delivery time.
Incredible. Any other piece of equipment that you want to jump on? I got a couple of minutes here.
I mean, everything is. I mean, everything is doubled or tripled, as he said. You know, I got a text message yesterday afternoon from one of our reps and our air packs that we where they're looking at probably a 6 to 8% increase at the end of the month.
And that doesn't include, like, for fire department. What's a fire truck cost today? Fully loaded.
Fully loaded pumper today, you can get between, according to what you get, it'll be between $600,000 and about $850,000. If you get a ladder truck, you're going to be paying $1.3 to $1.4 million.
Yep.
All right. Easy question, quick answer. Is the Martin Fire Department needing anything right now to help save lives or help people?
Well, right now, no. I mean, we've got the equipment to do the job. We got the equipment now. You know, there's some of our equipment that's got age on it. But, you know, with
repair and maintenance, essentially.
With routine maintenance and all that, you know, we are, you know, yeah, they're showing some issues with their age.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the city board, if you will, and the auxiliary committees and so forth, they saw down the road to be able to give the city of Martin the best they can give them based on what we had to work with and the amount of people that live here. So is that a fair assessment?
Yes. So. And then, you know, and it's going to come a time that you know, there are going to have to be some replacements because they're just going to, you know, it's going to be a balance. You know, do I pay all this maintenance cost or do I get a new one with a warranty, you know, and all that? So, you know, so in the future, there is going to have to be some purchases.
Final word, and I'll give you it real quick. Rural fire subscription fees. If you want that, sign up for it. You got 2 ways to do it, but the most important way is just to make sure that you spend, is it what, $100? Is that what it is?
$100 annually.
If you live outside the city limits of Martin, but inside the rural fire subscription fee, make sure you take care of that. I'm proud to say that I am proud to be one of those people that pays that because I want the Martin Fire Department to my house as quickly as it could possibly ever be there. And I know that that's one of the things that you try to do, and that's to make sure that everybody knows you're on the way as quickly as you can be there.
That's right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Kory Green, and more than anything else, I appreciate your extra work that you do on the high school football and basketball courts. And
I appreciate that.
I want you to know that, football and basketball. And also, Jamie, I know that people don't know this about you, but you spend a lot of time in church on Sundays making sure all of the audio sounds good. So there are lives outside of what they do, and I appreciate both of you fellas. Thanks so much. Jamie Summers, our guest today, the Fire Chief, Martin, Tennessee. Kory Green, the captain of the Martin Fire Department. We hope you've enjoyed our program. This is 30 Minutes. I'm Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded here on Thunderbolt Radio.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.